Well, I'm really thrilled to be here with all of you today to discuss about quantum for finance and try to see together why this technology is useful in this realm. And actually, finance was one of the first industries where use cases were identified for quantum computing. And also, it's a realm where it is expected to achieve some kind of quantum advantage. Regarding the timeline about that quantum advantage, well, there are different estimations, but a quantum advantage in finance is also to be expected. So, and during this talk, we will address the fundamental question of why is quantum important for finance? And to address this question, we need also to think about what tasks are quantum computers good at? And where do we find these tasks in finance? And finally, I will share with you some takeaways and final remarks. All right, so what tasks are quantum computers good at? Or at least the quantum computers that we have right now. And these quantum computers might be different in the future. However, right now we see that quantum computers are good for optimization problems, and we can use different technologies for these problems, both gate-based quantum computers and specific quantum computers such as quantum annealers. For example, just before starting this talk, Kevin and I were discussing about D-Wave. D-Wave started building quantum annealers, and they have expanded also to gate-based quantum computers. And optimization problems are problems that are pretty much everywhere in our daily lives. I would say that almost every problem that we face can be either a pure optimization problem or approximated by an optimization problem. And so it is very useful to solve these problems or address them in the most efficient ways. And it's a good thing that quantum computers are good at this. Then we have the domain of simulation problems. Quantum computers are also good for simulation problems, and specific cases of these can be, for example, material science, and an application of this can be to develop better batteries, better electric batteries for cars or any other means of transport or any other application. And then we can see simulation problems in other realms. For example, for the pharmaceutical industry, that now it's very popular for, well, for the situation that we are in. It's also very interesting to be able to have better simulation tools. Another domain is machine learning, and we talk about quantum machine learning. Quantum machine learning is a very active area of research, and there is some discussion about the advantages that can be obtained quantumly in the machine learning realm, but there is, again, a lot of research, and some of us think that quantum computers are good at machine learning and can also provide, in the future, potential significant advantages here. And there is a fourth domain, which, strictly speaking, it is not only about quantum computers, or it is quantum computers with something more, and that something more are quantum networks. And quantum computers working in quantum networks are very good at and very useful for ultra secure communications. And ultra secure communications, communications that are resistant to any kind of attack, it's a domain also very interesting across a variety of industries. So in summary, these 4 domains are pretty much 4 big blocks that we believe at the moment that quantum computers are good at. And we can think of maybe of others as well. And with practical, but I would say that with practical applications, these are the 4 big domains that quantum computers are good at. The following question is, where do we find these tasks in finance? And I will provide here some examples that I know of, and there can be others as well. Well, in the realm of, or the domain of optimization, a canonical problem is portfolio optimization. Portfolio optimization in the finance area is about a portfolio of investment and to optimize that portfolio so we have the biggest profit, so to speak. And experiences here are, for example, a Spanish bank, VA with multiverse computing, actually working on D-Wave machines, and also JP Morgan on Honeywell machines, quantum machines in both cases. And a few months ago, there was also an implementation of the HHL algorithm on these computers, apparently with an advantage, as far as I remember. And that is very interesting because the quantum computers that we have now are noisy, intermediate scale computers. In summary, they have very few, well, not very few qubits, but few qubits, and they are subject to noise, amongst other problems. So it is interesting also to see that even if these small machines that we have now can provide an advantage, even taking into consideration their current limitations. So those were interesting findings and experiences. Then if we think about simulation, we can think about the simulation of financial markets. And this is very important for the financial industry, because here the question that is addressed is, how are going financial markets to behave under certain conditions? And very related to this question is also the concept of Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo simulations are used also in a variety of industries, not only finance, but in finance, of course, Monte Carlo simulations are very important. And we speak of quantum Monte Carlo simulations. And there is a paper very interesting by the guys at Cambridge Quantum Computing, proposing a method for quantum Monte Carlo simulations that could provide an advantage in quantum computers that I can share later with you all. Example of this in the financial realm are the pricing of financial derivatives, which is a work that Xanadu did in 2018, as well as credit valuation adjustments that, again, Spanish bank BBVA did with Zapata Computing. And also, even though these are specific examples and related to how financial markets are going to behave, related to this is also the question of can we simulate or predict when a financial crash is going to happen? And quantum computers can also contribute in this field related to the area of simulation. And the third area is machine learning. Machine learning, in this case, quantum machine learning, use cases identified has to do with fraud detection. For example, fraud detections for credit cards, which is a $1 billion problem. So any increase in accuracy, for example, in detecting patterns that can be indicative of fraud in credit cards, well, we can all see clearly that it is an advantage. And also detecting patterns of money laundering. So quantum machine learning can contribute to fight against money laundering and contribute in the field of anti-money laundering. And there is also a very interesting paper released by JP Morgan about use cases of quantum machine learning for finance. And it is a very interesting work that I encourage you to take a look about how quantum machine learning can be used in the finance industry. And then also MasterCard has a team dedicated to quantum computing. And my take on this is that it makes perfect sense for a player such as MasterCard to have a team dedicated to quantum computing. And I can imagine that maybe quantum machine learning is interesting for them because, well, when you are in the payment industry, gaining insights about how your customers behave, not only maybe regarding fraud detection, but also regarding that, provides significant value. So for me, it is hardly a surprise that such a relevant player such as MasterCard is already exploring the quantum realm and the quantum technologies. And the fourth area are ultra-secure communications. I'm sure that all of you understand that having ultra-secure communications is critical for the finance industry. And again, JP Morgan is already working in this area. This is an example because they have already made public that they are working in this. Maybe others are as well, but they have not made it public. And they are working in ultra-secure communications and specifically in quantum key distribution. So these are use cases that fit into these four areas that we discussed before, and their specific application in the finance industry. And these, of course, are just some examples, and there are others as well. So finally, some takeaways and final remarks. Well, optimization, simulation, machine learning, and ultra-secure communications are use cases of quantum for the financial sector. And some of the major players in the financial sector are already pursuing quantum technologies. I have mentioned some of them, and others that I have not mentioned are, for example, Goldman Sachs and other banks in the financial sector, but Wells Fargo as well. So when you think about big players in the financial sector, I would say a significant number of them are already involved, or my take on this is that they will be involved shortly. And And again, this is a personal opinion, but I think that technological advantage is probably the most crucial type of competitive advantage. And it's very important and fundamental for players across all sectors, and specifically in the finance sector, to get ready to technological revolutions. And the quantum revolution, it is no exemption to this. So I would encourage to all of the institutions and players in this area to start getting ready for quantum.
Yeah, that's completely true. You cover these things too.